Iran has been willing to negotiate this entire time. The worst thing that ever happened to the people of Iraq was George W. Bush's war there. Since 2007, our CIA has said they don't have nuclear weapons and they're not striving to achieve them.
I have a few clips of Dave Smith, who admittedly has been growing on me for a libertarian, on Piers debating the Israeli strikes on Iran, where, breaking as I'm writing this, the US has launched strikes on Iran as well. We'll have to cover that more in depth in a different video, but we will have some insight sprinkled throughout, and the escalating tensions all throughout the Middle East, largely because of Donald Trump. So leave us a like on the video if you can. It lets us know you enjoy the content, gives us a big boost in the algorithm, and let's get right to the debate.
It is the most profoundly risky and reckless policy he could have pursued, or just about. I think this is very likely going to lead to a catastrophe, much like all of the other terror wars, including the one, Piers, that you heroically led the opposition in the UK to in 2003, of course, referring to the war in Iraq. And as you remember well, Piers, from that war, the justifications just kept constantly changing. And then when one fell away, they'd move to the next one. Oh, he was in on 9/11. Okay, he wasn't in on 9/11. But he's got weapons of mass destruction. Okay, he doesn't have weapons of mass destruction, but we have to liberate the people or bring democracy. And I've already seen that it's remarkable how sped up it is. I've already seen so many of the war hawks bouncing back and forth between all of these different justifications. But of course, in the end there, all of the justifications failed. Not only did he not have weapons of mass destruction, not only was he not in on 9/11, but we also didn't liberate the people. The worst thing that ever happened to the people of Iraq was George W. Bush's war there.
I've said this multiple times. Iran has long been the punching bag for these things. And remarkably, I was thinking about this earlier. Most of the people who say these things about Iran or who are justifying these attacks probably couldn't name one fact about it. They literally probably just think of Iran as the US hating terrorists, right? But I've showed the clip that anyone can find of Netanyahu as far as 3 decades ago, 1995, saying Iran is on the brink of nukes, right? And doing so every 2 to 3 years since then. This is just the latest cycle of that. And I know Iraq is the one people point to because it was disgusting and horrendous. It's the infamous one that killed Americans and Iraqi civilians and done by Republicans. But this is a common thing Republicans push for, right? We did this in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Haiti. I mean, the list goes on, where I have to wonder how many times the same play can be called and it works. Oh, they're terrorists, so they do bad things, and it justifies this. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Dave Smith would say that we did this in situations in which I would say was justified. I'm less isolationist than him by far, but when one group is saying that, they're doing the boogeyman thing, but all intelligence points to another thing, maybe realize the propaganda.
As far as Iran enriching up to 60%, yes, it's true that they only need, I think, between 3 to 5% for civilian nuclear purposes, and maybe some around 20 to 25% for some medical needs. But that is what is known as a latent nuclear deterrent. There is another reason why they would have that. They want to demonstrate that they can get the bomb, but they don't have it right now to stop something like this happening. But the bottom line is that since 2007, our CIA has said they don't have nuclear weapons and they're not striving to achieve them. Tulsi Gabbard, not only in her testimony, but in the Director of National Intelligence as her capacity serving that role, in the annual threat assessment just put out a couple months ago, reaffirmed the same thing. And so is the global community. Iran has been willing to negotiate this entire time. And maybe the negotiations haven't been successful, but even Benjamin Netanyahu, in his interview with Brett Baer the other day, couldn't even manage to lie and say that they've broken out and they're pursuing. He said maybe a year.
He's exactly right. The CIA has been clear on this, a consistent messaging throughout multiple administrations. So you can't even say to a partisan thing. They said it under Bush, under Trump, under Obama, under Biden, right? The IAEA, essentially the nuclear police, their intelligence is clear on this. DNI was clear on this just months ago, but now, because Israel said so, we have to go to war with Iran. As far as, again, breaking, as I'm writing this, and we'll cover it more in depth in another video, we've officially attacked Iran. We dropped 30,000-pound bombs on a nuclear site, and then attacked 2 others with, 30 Tomahawks. Again, I'll have an in-depth video on just this where all the facts are listed out, but it's insane, right? We're essentially escalating into war where it cannot be forgotten. Trump did this without congressional approval and against the insight from his advisors. Trump did exactly this in his first term, and Iran retaliated and killed U.S. troops. They're already talking about retaliating again. Trump, I mean, the whole pro-peace thing, the whole MAGA just months ago saying that Biden's going to get us into World War III. It's all falling in their face as Trump is now leading us directly into war. And the question is just, why are we doing any of this, right? It's, again, shades of Trump's first term. Is it just he wants to go after brown people? He wants to go after Arabs? I mean, how many lives are MAGA willing to sacrifice to stand with Israelis' lives? How many lives are MAGA willing to put on the line for their dogmatic, like, war hawk tendencies that have led us into pointless wars since 2003, since before then, to try and justify some sort of destruction or onslaught in the Middle East that is essentially just imperialism. Guys, these are the people who told us sending aid to Ukraine was bad, but now we are supposed to believe that attacking and bombing a sovereign country that posed no threat to us is good? Live in reality.
Ironically, I get called a moral relativist when I criticize Israel, but I'm the one who's always asking for an objective standard here that we can judge all sides on. Because it's just, yeah, you can just focus on the horrible things that Iran did in the 1980 war with Iraq, which Saddam Hussein launched, and the U.S. backed Saddam Hussein as he was using chemical weapons. And
so that justifies using children to walk into minefields?
No, that is not what I'm saying.
Okay,
let
so
me
what
finish
are you
my
saying?
point here. Instead of just straw manning, well, I was about to say, so let me finish it. Okay. By the way, Israel never killed any children, as you know, Piers, right? They have the most.
Israel is not sending its own children into minefields. It's a massive difference.
Okay, Constantine, let me finish my point, and then you can respond to it and see if you can take it on. Now, when you sit here and say that they've been at war with Iran since October 7th because Hamas is their proxies. What exactly, proxy means that I would think you have operational control over them or something like that.
Well,
it seems like
and Ta-Nehisi Coates actually put this the best I've ever heard anyone explain it, because what they're getting at is a logical fallacy. It's an appeal to worse behavior. It's really just a red herring. I think genocide is wrong. I think slaughter is wrong. I think indiscriminate bombing is wrong. It is wrong no matter the context, no matter who you are doing it to, in the same way that I think slavery is wrong. I don't care if you're enslaving an innocent person or you're enslaving someone who killed 100 kids. I think the death penalty is wrong. I don't care if you killed someone or if you were arrested for smoking weed. You either think the action is moral or it's immoral. There's no nuance or context to why this kind of carpet bombing campaign is okay. But Dave Smith is spot on here in that these people also only want to do this for one side. They only want to do this to the Arabs, as if 20,000 kids haven't been killed by Israel, as if multiple doctors don't have stories, recounts, first-hand accounts of the IDF purposely killing kids, shooting them twice. I have interviews with multiple doctors, Feroz Sidwa, who went into Gaza, worked in the hospital, and saw up to a dozen kids who were shot both in the head and chest. You don't do that on accident. I have an interview, and his name is escaping me, but with a gentleman who worked in a hospital that then saw the IDF come in, kick all the doctors out, and then unplug the equipment that had fetuses and incubators hooked up to essentially ending the lives of all those fetuses, as if the inhumanity of Iranians in the 1980s somehow justifies this level of Israeli inhumanity. Now, two wrongs never have made a right, but two rights did make an airplane.